I'm rolling.
Okay, awesome.
All right, I'd like to call to order at 5:30, the Guthrie Public Library Advisory Board meeting. So, guess I'll take forward. We have our newest member, Brenda, welcome.
Welcome.
Hello. And then Sam. Hello. And Jamie.
Hello.
I'm Gracelyn Lorenz, and this is Cameron Smith.
Hello.
And so, since we have 4 members here, I'd like that establishes a quorum. So, I forget what I do next? Do I, do anything else?
You don't have a motion.
No.
We just recognize that there's a quorum.
Yeah.
You recognize there's a quorum?
Yep, this is it.
I gotta ask the pro over here. We do have the latest minutes of December 2024 meeting. And have we all had a chance to look at it, or should we wait and look at it and approve it next meeting?
Can we just take a few minutes to read over it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I read through the majority of it.
And I have yet again not done the November minutes.
Sorry. Good news is, there's always next month.
That's true. I'm doing 3 months.
I know, right?
Did you hear from Tammy?
She has a migraine, so she won't be here today. All right. Well, it all looked good to me,
I
so.
move to approve the meeting.
I do have a minor correction. Under section 6A, Cheyenne, the person who spoke at our last meeting, is a very successful student at Southern Nazarene University.
And I'll say it was really pleasant to have Cheyenne here, and she made some really great points and suggestions, and so I really appreciate that.
I move to approve the minutes of the December meeting.
I second with the
As
correction.
corrected. Yes, sorry.
I second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's okay.
All right. So, I turn it over to Cameron for the director's report.
All right, okay. So traditionally, December and January are some of the slowest months at the library, so this one is a little bit lighter than my normal director's report. We had a lot of holidays, and December, the staff here also participated in some events hosted by City Hall for their staff. We had our holiday party, and the city threw the staff a banquet. One of our staff members, Gwen, is a member of the city's party planning committee, so we very much appreciate all the work that she did for those. But that we did close for those days, and that does affect the statistics very slightly. The big update that I have for y'all and for everyone watching at home is that the Friends of the Library will be having their annual sale on February 8th at the Presbyterian Church Fellowship Hall. That's on Saturday. And that is our biggest fundraiser. We fund a lot of programs and a lot of activities through that. We've been getting tons of donations recently, so there's going to be some good stuff at the sale this year. Okay, moving on to programs.
Sorry, did
Yes.
you know, are you aware if they need help with anything? Have they told you like when they're gonna start sorting and
So they're currently
Transporting
sorting
and
right
all that.
now, and they actually have had a new group of volunteers that have been really regular.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and when the sale actually gets here, they work with Guthrie Job Corps. So they have some students from Job Corps. They help set up and tear down. It does cost us a couple pizzas to get it done, but it is money very well spent.
Okay, well, it sounds.
When I say
sounds
we, the
good.
friends,
Yes.
buy them all pizza.
Sounds good.
Last
Yes.
year, I believe, the night before, they had a friends
They
meeting.
did, yes, and that's
And you can
happening today, or happening this year on the 7th, which is a Friday. It's their annual membership meeting. And immediately after the meeting, which will be at the Fellowship Park Presbyterian Church, there is a members only sale. So you can
First
get there, and get first dibs on all the cool stuff.
And it's $5 to join, right?
It is
Big old
a
five.
low price of $5.
Okay.
It
And
is,
do you know what time that membership meeting is gonna start?
I would have to look at the
That's okay.
postcard in the lobby. I believe it's, I don't know.
There's information in the lobby
Yeah,
about it.
there is. We have information in
So
the
stop
lobby.
by your library and find out.
And if you are a member, you should have gotten a postcard in the mail. If not, let us know. We'll be sure to get that. Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. So moving on to programming, our story times are getting bigger and bigger. We have 2 librarians that do our story time programs. They've really gotten into the groove. One of the ones I want to highlight was right before Christmas, we had Santa and Mrs. Claus show up to story time. Mrs. Claus read a story to everyone. There was a little bit of panic because Santa Claus' number got lost when we went from our previous librarian to this one. And we were worried, and there was another city department that needed a Santa, and we couldn't find anybody. But when we finally got a hold of Santa, they were very much under the impression that they're going to be the Guthrie Library Santa for as long as they're around. So that's fantastic.
Great.
We also had a tween gingerbread decorating competition. That's where I learned that edible glitter is a thing.
Yes.
Edible
Yeah.
glitter?
Edible
Oh,
glitter,
yes,
yes. I also learned that you can put it in pickles. But
Ew.
yeah.
I grow cucumbers and pickle my own, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. Some of those gingerbread houses were so glitter.
Yeah.
Felt bad for the clean crew having to vacuum that up the next day, but it was mostly clean after that. The tweens had holiday movie marathon that was really well attended, and Lego Club tends to do really well. We have a good group of regulars that show up for that. Teen programs are also going very well at the library. The teen council is busy working on new programs, and they're also helping out with their summer reading program. They had 2 separate movie programs in December. We had our anime club, which is where they show a anime movie. We also had some holiday movies that they showed. And the big news on our continuing Dungeons and Dragons program is that they finished their old campaign and they get to start a new one, and they're super excited about that.
Now, I know the teen library council meets.
Yes.
Yeah, when do they meet?
They meet the first Saturday of the month.
Okay.
And generally what they do is they will meet for about an hour to discuss programs and things like that. And then there's usually a team program right afterwards, a book club typically.
Okay. Is there a time on that?
The,
Do you remember? I can look it up too.
maybe. I believe the council starts at 11 and then the program starts at 12.
Got it. All right, great.
As long as no one quotes me on that, we'll be good.
Quote marks.
Yeah. So 2 really great adult programs in the month of December is we had our Lights Camera Guthrie, which is where we highlight a movie that was shot in Guthrie. Normally these are movies where they shoot like one scene, or if you remember in Tayada, Guthrie got to pretend that it was New York City for a couple scenes. This time we got a movie shot almost completely in Guthrie.
Oh.
Yes, Christmas in the Heartland, or the Christmas Switch, as some
Okay.
folks. And Fun fact, Jacob was not the person that screened that movie. We had Gwen do it because Gwen is one of the biggest fans of Christmas in the Heartland that you will ever find. So she showed the movie, and she showed it to someone who had just moved into town.
Nice.
So the people in the movie were pointing out, like, well, this is that corner. I think we can see your house from this one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We also had Lost in Austin. It was a tea party for Jane Austen's birthday. They made teas. They watched Pride and Prejudice. And this is the first time we've done something like this other than the Crown's tea that we usually do like late winter, early spring.
It's usually in February.
It is. I will talk to you about that after the meeting.
Okay.
Other than that, it's the first time we've done a tea program. It was completely booked. It was booked early. I was a little worried because the Depot was also doing their Victorian Christmas tea time, and I was really worried that we would cannibalize each other, but that didn't happen. The tea time was a complete success. In fact, the main feedback we got was when we were going to do something like that again. So we are currently planning another tea party. I don't know the theme of it yet, but I should have an update on that.
Cool.
All right.
Winter Valentine's would be fun.
That would be
Speaking
I
of,
have that.
But only garlic.
garlic.
It's like snacks. you know,
Oh, okay.
And then like tea. We used to call that like Gal's Giving or something like that.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, Valentine's.
All right. So, the 6th annual cookie contest was done in December. It was done, I believe, on the 14th, which if you were in Guthrie on the 14th, everything was happening on that day. Every single thing. We had the Santa fly-in over at the airport. We had Reefs Across America. And we had our event, and OSU had a graduation. I know because one of our judges was not able to make it because they had to go to the graduation. It was
VFW had our
Yes.
kids' Christmas.
Yeah.
Our kids' Christmas big program. Busy day.
busy day.
And I must say, I'm a little disappointed that we don't have cookies like we did
You
last
set the
time.
precedent.
I mean, I do have pizza in the break.
We came in last month and there were containers of cookies sitting around.
There were containers of cookies because we had 35 entries to the cookie contest. The winner of the cookie contest is a professional baker, and they have already agreed to be the judge at next year's cookie contest.
Perfect.
We also had Chess Club and Looming, and those are still going pretty good.
I know they talked about Looming, changing that into like.
Just kind of the bring your own needle
Right.
blank class, yeah. All right, let's move on to the collection. We had a very, very slight increase in the amount of items that we have here at the library. It's been pretty much stable, but we are adding more items than we are withdrawing. Part of that is because one of our big weeding projects we were not able to finish in time, so that may come back with different information next month. Just with all of the closures and we had tons of people out for illness, we did not quite get all the weeding that we need to get done in December.
Understandable.
Well, yeah, and then we've got all of January to do it too. If you had to fall behind on a month, January and December is not a terrible one to do.
Absolutely.
So, visits and participation are a little bit lower in December, but that is to be expected. December is traditionally, at every library I've ever worked at, you see a slight downtick in December. It's cold, people. I have worked at libraries where the circulation actually goes up, but it's because everyone shows up right before the weather gets bad and checks out the max number of books, and then we don't see them again. But I will notice, and I'll point this out when we go through the charts, that this December has been more successful than previous Decembers. Our overdrive stats are pretty much the same because we generally buy that once a year. We really have not added too many Overdrive Advantage titles yet.
So tell me,
Yes.
when a new book is coming out,
Mhm.
how does that work? Do y'all automatically get a copy of it if it's a really popular series or a
Physical
really popular
or
book?
electronic?
Electronic.
Electronic. Okay. So the Oklahoma Virtual Library, which is where
Mhm.
90%, probably higher than that, that's all administered by a librarian in Stillwater.
Mhm.
And they do buy the new stuff when it comes up. They don't just buy once a year, buy everything.
Mhm.
But when we buy into it, we're buying into a pre-existing collection. Some stuff drops off, but they get all the new stuff.
Mhm.
And this particular librarian is really, really good at maintaining a pretty steady number of volumes.
And so whether or not it's from that part or
Mhm.
from our library, your hold status is gonna be not affected because we don't have it. We'll still be in the same kind of hold pattern as anybody else
Correct.
that uses
Yeah.
Overdrive.
So
Okay.
with the Oklahoma Virtual Libraries, that is the 100 libraries in Oklahoma that we all basically pull our money together and buy
Okay.
60,000.
So it doesn't really matter if our library catalog has that book.
That is correct.
Because
So when
we
you
have equal access to
maybe
the other parts.
I know. My least favorite answer, but it depends. So so when you see something in the catalog and you see that it's an electronic one, chances are that's part of the Oklahoma Virtual Library, and that means we're sharing that book with 100 other libraries
Right.
in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Now, a big portion of our Overdrive Advantage, the ones that the library buys for our exclusive use, are extra copies of stuff that are already in the Oklahoma Virtual Library. And we do that so that the wait list isn't 8 months long.
Yeah, I'm gonna
and
need you to Bionic Storm
Okay,
next week.
okay. You have my email address? You have Candy's?
No,
If
yeah,
it's
I
not
was-
already on,
It's a very anticipated publication. And,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
I'm on the notify me list.
oh, okay.
So I just wonder, does that affect it that we aren't getting a copy of it as far as like when I would be notified or how,
If
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, okay.
So you answered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I will talk to Andy and Nick to see if we'll get. And what we do is Overdrive offers these kinds of books under a bunch of different price models. And generally for the books that I described that are books that are already purchased by the Oklahoma Virtual Library, we basically do kind of a short-term loan. That way we can have a bunch of copies for that initial hit when everyone wants to read it when it gets out.
Yeah.
So you're
makes
actually,
sense.
some people may want to like, I know this is a popular book, I'm gonna wait and maybe put a hold on it later after the popularity dies down, thinking that they're gonna get it sooner, but that actually may not happen because we may not have as many copies later because we buy those 1-2 month
Sure.
versions of it.
Well, that makes
It's almost
sense.
better to put your name on the list.
It can be, yeah.
That makes sense.
And I say that because that is 100% something that I would do. Is like, you know what? I bet you in 2 months no one's going to want to read that book. So I'll wait then.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had some books on there that are years and years old, but for whatever reason they're having a resurgence in popularity,
Oh yeah,
and I'll put a hold on it, and it'll say your hold is 2
Mhm.
months, or
yeah. If you notice something weird like that, you can feel free to reach out at anybody at the library because something that does happen, it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen, is that you will put a hold on a book that we have, and then by the time your hold gets to that queue, we've lost the license to that book. So then it gives you'll go down to like anticipated hold time 2 weeks to anticipated hold time 8 months. That happens, yeah, you can just shoot us the email, we can see it
okay,
out.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but if that's something you're noticing, that could be a reason why. Or it could be that everyone else just put a hold on it too, and
Yeah.
All right. As far as library cards are going, we are being very, very consistent. One interesting thing I saw, and I probably need to check up on this, is I noticed that we are getting as many new library card applications as we are, not 100%, but it's a very, very close number between the number of new card applications we're receiving and the number of times we're renewing people's accounts, which suggests a growth trend, and I need to make sure that that's that those numbers are actually accurate.
Because you send out a yearly request.
Everyone, yeah, so if you didn't know, when you sign up for a library card, its expiration date is set for a year. That's why you get the message that says your library account is expiring. When I talk to people about this and when people call me asking about their library account, I really do not like that language. Because your library account is not expiring. What's happening is we are just verifying your contact information.
Right, absolutely.
Unfortunately, that we can modify the language of almost all the communications that go out. That's one of the ones that we can't. One of the very few that we can't.
I got mine today, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I'll make a note of that.
Oh, I was gonna go over to the counter. And,
Oh, you can do that too.
you know what
All right. So I actually do have our social media stats. These are available every quarter, and it just so happens we just got fresh data on that. All right. So our social media growth has been almost the same. If anything, there's been some marginal growth. And there's two exceptions that I noticed when going through the data. One is that our Pinterest, we've had 7.6% more likes on that compared to like 0.8 or 1 on most of our other platforms. And I find that interesting because we have publicly accessible Pinterest boards, but we don't curate those for the public. They are a whiteboard that a lot of our staff use for developing programs and stuff like that. So I found it interesting that the most growth came on something that we really don't intend to grow. Also, our TikTok account had 15.7% growth in followers, and we made one post. And when I was looking through the data, I was like, I wonder what that post is. It's a dancing dinosaur. It's like, oh, that's cute. I get that. I get that.
I think Dino-Member is typically a heavy social media
It is.
month because, well, I know when Chris was here, she'd go downtown in her T-Rex costume, she would do that, and a lot of people would post it like, oh, I saw her, and then someone would tag the library, so that was always a big social media month too, so I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, the only account we saw with any decrease is Twitter or X, and that was at March, or like a couple of fewer followers this quarter compared to last quarter. All right, so that is all of charts, my favorite part. All right. So that first chart is just our snapshot from ODL. I just put that in there so it kind of gives a lot of good information right up front. As you can see from the card holders, it's mostly, we see rises and then we see sharp dips. That is because we are actively curating these card accounts, and that's not something we've done a whole bunch in the past. All right, on to visits. Like I said earlier, there is a short dip in the amount of visits that we have in December, but that is very, very typical. And to show that, what I did is I charted what our visits were in December from previous years. And you can see 2019 was a great year. And then for some reason, something happened in 2020 and we had hardly anybody here. And we haven't quite gotten back to our 2020 numbers as far as visits go. Part of that could be the way we're counting them, but that is a trend that I have seen at other libraries I've worked at, is that we are still trying to get back to our pre-2020 levels. Circulations tells a very, very similar story. I kind of changed this chart up because I wanted to show the Oklahoma Virtual Library checkouts compared to the Overdrive Advantage. Those are the ones that we have on checkouts. And again, circulations actually went up in December because people want to stock up on their books before it gets too cold. And we are still doing good compared to previous past. When I was going through the data, I had always wondered the percentage between the types of checkouts electronically and physical, and whether or not they change in the season. Are people like doing ebooks during the wintertime because they don't want to drive up to the library in the freezing cold, or maybe we're closed because of the ice and things like that? And I actually did a chart that showed that I was correct, which I wanted to show off that I was correct about something. Yeah, so
It's still pretty consistent.
it is
throughout
very
the year.
consistent throughout the year. We see our lowest amount of electronic checkouts are in June when we do our big summer reading stuff. So we have tons of kids in here and they all check out books when they're here. And most of our electronic checkouts are in November, December, and March when it's raining and storming.
A lot of people are busy with holidays
And
and
yeah.
not able to run to the library like they.
So I've been telling people that for years. It's like, I bet we get more electronic checkouts, but now I have the data to show. All right, and now I have got, since we were talking about membership, I decided to include a couple charts on total cards. The story is very similar on this. We had tons of cards, and these are all the different kinds of cards that we do up until 2020, and then you see a dramatic shift in the cards. And your first thought would be that that since the libraries were closed through a portion of 2020, that means that we lost a lot of people. And in some extent that is true, but what explains most of the drop in our total cards between 2020 and 2021 is when we started having to verify card accounts. In order to get our ebooks from our vendor, they based their price on how many cards you have. And some people all of a sudden were getting cards from, like the Brooklyn Library was a very popular one. I think Orlando was popular. So and nobody really enforced the rules because it really didn't hurt anybody until everyone was checking out ebooks. So that is when we started sending out the emails that your library card is expiring, and that has affected the total number of cards because we had to remove some of the expired accounts. But compared to other libraries, our total card count is phenomenal.
Wow.
Yes. Again, we're number one. Not that I'm trying to diminish those other libraries in our cohort. So the libraries that I choose in our comparison, those are the libraries closest in population to Guthrie. Those are the five libraries with higher, and then the 5 libraries lower. And one interesting statistic that I will be honest with you stuck out to me even before I got this job over at the Guthrie Library is Guthrie has more library cards than it has people in its service area. And I always wondered what kind of trickery was going on. And then I worked here and I figured out it's because we service not the city of Guthrie, it's all of Logan County. So those cards from Crescent and Coyle,
Yeah.
that's what is pushing us over. That's why we have 105% penetration, which is something most libraries would only dream about. All right. Are there any questions that y'all have over the report, or anything that I feel is wrong about?
I really appreciate all the information.
Okay.
Yeah, I still feel like you're, spot on with timely information and it's not too much, it's not too little, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
So then I move to start on the strategic plan discussion.
Okay. All right. Yes. I have this thing. I went through the. Alright, so I'm just going to do a super brief recap. If you have a new person here, this is something that we started 2 months ago when we decided to do monthly meetings. Basically, we have libraries of our size are required to have a strategic plan. We have one at file with the state, but it's a little bit out of date, so we are starting the process of creating a new one. Last month, we got a list of almost 24 individuals that we were going to invite into our planning committee. I've been able to reach out to a couple of them, just kind of hey, we're doing our strategic planning process, we would like you to be involved. Just giving you a heads up, I'm probably gonna annoy you with some emails pretty soon, and so far, they've been okay with that. What I wanted to talk about today with y'all is exactly what I'm going to annoy them with. Now, some people think that I'm trying to give them homework. If you notice on the back of your packet, this little sheet. So, since we have identified the people on our programming committee, and by the way, I am following one of the ALA publications on how to do a strategic plan. Their recommendation is that I have 2 5-hour meetings with the people on this board, or on people on this committee, which sounds like a lot. I don't know if I got that kind of time. So what we're doing is we're going to do it virtually, as we decided in our last meeting. All right. So the sheet in the back is photocopied from this. This is a worksheet that the book recommended that you pass out to your committee when you have this 5-hour meeting, so that they could fill it out right then and there, and then we could go over it and come up with a vision statement. So when I email these folks and tell them thank you for helping us with our strategic plan, there's a lot of different avenues that we could take. We could ask them pointed questions, yes, no questions. We could do a very open-ended, because we're not asking about, at this point in time, we're not asking about the library. We're asking about the community, and we chose people who connections to the community. So I could just send out an email saying, tell me what you love about Guthrie and about Logan County, and just ask an open-ended question. That was very similar to the community needs survey that is part of the ALA grant that was going through. Those take a while to code, but you can get good answers with that. Or we could send them, and I'll give you guys a moment to look over this worksheet, or I could send them something very similar to this worksheet.
Would it be like in a Google Doc where they can just kind of type it out?
I was honestly going to probably send them this that they could send back to me, and then I would code everything and report back to y'all with it. But I am very open to ideas.
You could actually send a Google form
Mm-hmm.
so that when they fill in their answers and submit it, it will automatically populate the results spreadsheet for you.
Oh, yeah.
And that way you don't have to spend your time coding it. They've answered the questions or provided the information that you asked, and it can just be structured exactly like this.
Yeah, basically look like the same thing.
Right, except for everyone's answers would show up.
And then
That's
as
a great
they
idea.
enter the answers and then they hit submit,
Mm-hmm.
it would automatically compile that information for you. Be a lot easier
Yeah,
for you.
I like that.
Mhm.
Making stuff easy for me is the thing.
Especially with things coming up that will require a lot more of your time, I'm not sure that's kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the strategic planning process being what it is and
Mhm.
taking a year
Yes.
or so.
And I remember coding the community needs project, and that one did not look like it would take a lot of time, but it ended up taking a good amount of time. And this would not
Anything
completely,
you can do to speed up the process
yeah,
or.
and this wouldn't completely automate it, but it would give me
Oh, well, public
It would
meeting.
simplify things a lot,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Cause then you could sort
Yes.
of find, like, if they put everything about seniors, everything about
Mhm.
children, you know, so it'd make it
Yeah.
easier for you.
Do you have someone on staff that know, I mean, do you know how to set up a Google form?
I've done it in my previous job, so I can do
Yeah,
that,
I
yeah.
figured.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It's been a while since I've done it, but
Yeah.
I can do it, I'll figure it out. Alright, so are we good with asking something in this
Yes,
kind of
I
format?
think
This is
great.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's gonna give us the important information we're gonna need to know for.
Because that too doesn't people have different
Exactly.
views and different connections, you know, some have children, some don't, you know, so that's, I think that's great. This is
Oh.
wonderful.
Will they rate it, like, most important, like?
No, and the form as is does not do that.
It doesn't, I was just curious,
Yeah.
but I'm
But what
interested
it
to find
does-
out is the order,
Yeah.
like,
And the intention of doing it this way was that they would put the things that they would think are important or they think need to be brought to folks' attention.
Mhm.
That way you don't have to go through everything.
yes.
Okay, so I can easily make a Google form out of this.
Google form out of the homework. That's not really fun.
Yeah.
Now, did we decide or talk about if board members will be part of that committee, or will we just be looking at the information that that committee puts together?
So, board members absolutely can be on the committee, so,
Yep, you're supposed to spam us with all the stuff.
okay, and I will.
Well, I didn't know if we would be actually
So,
filling out
yeah,
the form,
there-
or if we're just gonna be seeing what the results are of the committee.
I think the best
Mhm.
help the process too. I mean,
Yeah, but I think on the last meeting, because I listened to it today, we talked about this, and at first he just said the officers, but then he was like, if you would like to be a part of the email spam, please, you know, so I think he opened it up to everybody,
Yeah.
which is a great thing, just to keep us all informed, and plus, you know, again, he could send me the Google form and I'll have different answers than,
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
so I think it's great to
Mhm.
include us.
Yeah, there's an argument that the board shouldn't participate in the process since we're doing a lot of stuff on the back end.
Mhm.
But really y'all are doing stuff on the front end in these first couple of steps.
Gotcha.
So, and y'all are here because you are important members of the community. And I value that feedback. It's kind of the whole purpose or whole reason behind having an advisory council. It seems silly to have a council that I can come here for advice and get feedback from the community, but not on this super important thing.
Yeah.
All right. That is it for that.
Alright.
That's great.
Well, do we have any public comments?
No public today.
No public here?
I know, I kinda miss our friends, we'll have everything back.